But guys, what happens at corner 2? I have to ask each of you today. We go in Dane Jackson. We know Kyrie Elam will be active now. You don't have to talk about that any longer. But who's going to play? I don't think we see a rotation. We haven't seen a rotation anywhere on the field. So I don't believe you'll see a rotation. Do you want a replacement level guy coming in? Do you want to trade? There's been names tossed around. Adoree Jackson from New York could be a trade candidate. There's been a couple of other situations pop up. Do you trust the Dane Jackson, Kyrie Elam situation? We're going to start with Kevin here on his opinion. And then we're going to talk a little bit more. We talked about Vaughn a little bit early. Wanted to get all three of our opinion on record on that situation. And then we'll get score prediction. So Kevin, start us off here with what you want to do now after the devastating injury that did have its toll last week's win. Getting rid of Trey White is not going to be able to play this season with a torn and ruptured Achilles. With the new bracing technology, we're hoping that that's only a 4 to 5 month thing. Aaron Rodgers thinks he's going to play this year. I would assume he looks into that technology and maybe considers going to Aaron Rodgers' doctor, a well-known orthopedic surgeon. So I do think you could see him next year, but we'll save that for a different show. Kevin, tell us about what you think happens at the corner 2 spot.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that this just really, really sucks for Trey White and Tommy Doyle too. I mean, these are two guys that have suffered back-to-back season-ending injuries. So really just feel for those guys. And I'm hoping and praying that they're going to come back quickly and will be on the field healthy next year because, like Sean McDermott said, it just doesn't seem right sometimes. Like, what did these guys do to deserve it? And Trey and Tommy, for that matter, worked their butts off all offseason to get back to the point that they were playing at. And Trey was just starting to come back into form. He had that strong game against the Commanders, and then he looked pretty good on Sunday. And then just out of nowhere, his Achilles blows. So that blows in itself. So again, just hoping that they can recover quickly. But as for what I think that what the Bills will do moving forward, I think it's going to be Benford and Dane. Now, based on our conversation last week, I want to see more of Kyrie Elam, but I think basically what they're going to do is they're basically just going to move everyone up the chain. So Christian Benford is CB1 now, Dane is CB2, and then Elam is the first backup off the bench. And then I really don't think they're going to go outside the organization. So I would feel like they're just going to do something like elevating Jamarcus Ingram or a smaller type of move like that.
Mike, I'm assuming you agree. What is your opinion? And then I'll get into mine with my transition there.
Yeah, I'm not going to have to slam my head on the table this week. Just joking based on last week. But yeah, I believe that's the way it will start out. Dane Jackson will start opposite of Christian Benford, and he will get the first crack at earning the job, the opportunity. Now, if Dane doesn't perform well, if he struggles, Kyrie absolutely will get the chance to win over the second corner spot if Dane doesn't perform to expectations. The way I look at this is I'm okay with either guy being the second corner. I think with Dane, you look at someone that is more consistent, that the coaching staff feels that they can rely on, that he'll be in the right spot, but they don't necessarily feel like he has the highest ceiling in the world. So you'll get solid production, but you're never going to get that high-end play that you can get out of a Trey White. With Kyrie, you might have moments and flashes of greatness, but there's fears that you're also going to have moments of ineptitude or bad mistakes that could cost this defense. Pass interference down the field because you're tugging a little bit too much jersey or missing a tackle and run support. Those are mistakes that can be costly, and those are actually reasons why Kyrie Elam has been lower on this depth chart overall. Is you guys asked my opinion last week. Should Kyrie be active? Should he see the field? And what I said last week was essentially the Bills coaching staff has more faith in the guys ahead of him in the depth chart. And Greg Thompson kind of added to it in an even better way. He mentioned you want continuity. The Bills defense is not always the best athletes. It's guys that are playing their role and in the right spots, doing the right things. So there's a lot of faith that everybody is doing their job. And I think once the Bills coaching staff has complete faith that Kyrie Elam will be in the right spots at the right times and be able to make those plays consistently, I think he will then take over at cornerback 2. And I think that could be even some point in the next few weeks potentially. But it'll be Dane to start out. Jamarcus Ingram, I could see getting elevated at some point potentially, depending on the injury situations on the squad. And beyond that, I don't really think there's a move from the outside. I don't think there's going to be a trade or a free agent. Maybe someone can get added to the practice squad, but I don't think anything major that'll impact the roster. And I do have one thing I want to say about Trey White first. I've seen a lot of Bills fans on social media saying stuff like, this could be it for Trey. We might never see Trey White in a Bills jersey again. I think it's way too premature for any speculation like that regarding Trey White. An Achilles injury is awful. It sucks. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. But 70% of people that suffer an Achilles injury in the NFL come back to play. Now, I know he's older. He's not 22, 23, 24, but he's also not 32, 33, 34. Trey's in his late 20s. He is not ancient by NFL standards. And we're all optimistic that Von Miller is going to come back from a second major ACL injury and still produce as a 34-year-old. Yet we're doubting, not us specifically, but some fans are doubting whether Trey can come back from an Achilles at the age of 28. So the medicine is improved. The recovery time has been shortened over recent years. I think we will see Trey back on the field with the Bills. The question, the only question I have is from a Trey White mental perspective, does he want to come back after everything? Does he still want to continue playing football? As long as that answer is yes, I want to continue playing football, I see no reason for him not to be part of this team moving forward, especially when there's a dead cap hit that will impact the Bills if they get rid of him during the offseason. So if Trey wants to continue playing football, he's going to be part of this team going forward. But like I said, obviously devastating. It sucks that he went through everything that he went through only to then get hurt 4 games into this season when he was finally starting to produce closer to the level that we had come to expect out of him earlier in his career.
I think he plays next year. I think it's not going to be as devastating as the ACL. I think with the advantages of the Neil Atrash's bridging technology, one of the best orthopedic surgeon, he brought Cam Akers back in 6 months, and now talking to Rodgers about 4 months. I think you see him again. We'll talk about that later on in future shows, but I do believe you will see him again. And great point about this was how I was going to wrap this segment up. Elam and Jackson could be the starting combination. So I'm going to disagree with both of you. I think that a full strength Elam is going to get the go this week. I think he would have played last week. He wasn't active. So the situation that I was looking for was having an active for that exact situation. Luckily, the Bills were up, and the last thing that White was able to do this season was lock down Hill for a majority through 2.5 quarters. I was able to get that done and to get the Bills in a great position. And the loss on the field, now Mike talked a little bit about the loss off the field and if he's going to come back, but the loss on the field is still huge. Yes, he struggled a little bit against the run. Everyone's saying, well, we're not going to lose anything on the tackling or the run defense front. And that's right. Analytically, that is correct. I do agree that they will not lose anything there. But this coverage grade was top 20 in the league. He was playing corner 1 level. He was rising to be in the top echelon of corners in coverage. And that's what you have him for, to cover the best receivers, not necessarily to stop Josh Jacobs or Travis Etienne. That is his job. Hopefully the scheme can help him out in run defense. But his job is to be in the right place. And he's a zone merchant. He does exactly what he's supposed to, and hence where the Bills have been able to be, as he has been one of the first players to develop underneath Sean McDermott. I think you see him next year. I think he'll have enough encouragement, and I do think that injury will be rehabbed enough for him to be full strength next August. But I do think you'll see a healthy Kaiir Elam and a healthy Dane Jackson. I think Christian Benford might be an emergency option, and they might elevate Ingram, but I don't know that he would have gone back in that game had healthy Kaiir Elam being active. The difference between that, their race earlier this year might be pro Benford, but the injury and the limitations might bring, like, hey, maybe this is the game for Kaiir Elam in this game. And
one thing I do want to add about Kaiir Elam, I was told from people that do know him personally that, and this is going to sound obvious what I'm about to say, but the Bills coaching staff brought him in on Monday after the Trey White injury, and they told him, we need you now. Like, we invested in you. I know you haven't been seeing the field yet. I know you've been inactive, but this is your opportunity. This is your chance to show what you are as a player. The Bills coaching staff has told Kyer, we're gonna depend on you down this stretch. So this is your time to shine. And from those that I am in contact with that know Kyer well, what he has been telling people is delayed but determined. Basically saying, yes, I haven't gotten my opportunity yet, but when I'm out there, you guys are going to see why I was drafted in the first round and why I still believe I'm one of the top young talents in the NFL, deserving of this chance.
Yeah, and 2.5 more seasons of Kyer Elam. I still think, who you like aside, I still think you give it to him and for him to develop and take the lumps. And even if there's an out of place, I think it'll be huge for the future of this team. And I'm not necessarily saying that you wouldn't see lumps from Dane Jackson anyways throughout the season, whether he's close or a tick above right now. I do think that there's some value in seeing him. If he struggles, please then go to Dane if you have to. But I would kind of do it reverse to where I want him to get his start, even if it's for Benford to start with, and then not be able to take him out of the lineup if he plays well. And I think that's how it gets it done, because Benford then's going to rehab. He's going to be back, and then it's seamless. Oh, you're not going to take Kyer out. I think the Bills have a perfect baked-in situation here to run out Benford and Kyer sooner rather than later, and this could be the way they do it by sitting Benford first. So we'll have to monitor the injury situation, and maybe not. Maybe Benford rehab's fine and he's playing, but that's my prediction is you see a Benford Kyer plays well enough to keep the job. Benford comes back in for Dane. That is my bold prediction of the day. But my roster spot, where's it going to go? Someone's going to get that roster spot. I think you can survive calling up Ingram for a few weeks if you need him. And if Benford's out, then you call up Ingram for his max allocation of practice squad call-ups before you make a roster decision, sending him back through waivers and everything else. So I think that you call him up if needed and not just elevate him to the roster. You need a spot for Von Miller, whether it's this week or next. I do believe you'll see him week 6. You know, there's been much talk about week 9, week 10, week 11 for Von Miller. I think he takes this roster spot vacated by Trey White. It is a good situation for Brandon Beane to where he doesn't need to waive anybody now. At least this week, he can take the roster spot and make him inactive, and you can call up somebody from the practice squad if he isn't going to play. You need to have inactives anyways. So I think that you see him come off the pup, whether he plays or not sure yet.